Counterpoint accounting interface demystified. It is definitely a little bit of a confusing topic until we talk about it and you learn about exactly what it is and what it does and how it benefits you. So, first of all, what is the accounting interface? So the accounting interface allows you to transfer two types of information from your Counterpoint system to a third-party general ledger and accounts payable software. So we do have some confusion sometimes. People ask whether or not we can transfer like all of your accounts receivable transactions or all of your inventory transactions or all of that same kind of duplicate detail from Counterpoint to your accounting software. That is not what the accounting interface does. The accounting interface transfers one or two types of information over to your accounting software. First of all, we have general ledger distributions. So every time you post anything in Counterpoint, it is creating the debits and credits or the journal entries every time you post. So that's always going on based on some setup that we're going to talk about. The other thing that it can do is you can voucher your receivings into accounts payable transactions that go into your accounting software. So those are the two things that we can do. So why would we want to do this? Why do we want to use the Counterpoint accounting interface? If right now you have an accounting system that you use that is not connected via the accounting interface, you know that one of the things that you do is you take information from Counterpoint and you manually key in journal entries and you manually key in your inventory payables and all of that into your accounting software. So you're sort of doing part of the work in Counterpoint and then part of the work in your accounting software. So setting up the accounting interface lets those things happen on a somewhat automated basis and allows you to get those journal entry transactions and your accounts payable transactions quickly and easily into your accounting software. It eliminates manual entry into the accounting software, so you're optimizing your staff time. So instead of keying all that information sometimes twice, you don't have to do that anymore. It goes directly in. It improves the accuracy of the data being entered into your accounting software because as humans, we do make errors. So we eliminate the human error standpoint of keying in entries. And then your data is then always synchronized between your two systems. So as an example, again, keying journal entries, maybe you key something wrong on one side, on the accounting side, it's different figures from Counterpoint, or you enter a receiver in Counterpoint and you have, let's say you're entering $1,000 of inventory in your Counterpoint system. And then for some reason, when you key in the payable and key that into your accounting software, you key it in, it goes in as $9.98. Well, then you've got a $2 difference between Counterpoint inventory and your general ledger inventory. So synchronizes everything, keeps everything the same between the two systems, and depending if it's a direct interface or an export interface on a real-time or a directed basis. So lots of benefits. And I can say from experience, customers where we have set this up, especially if you're a large organization and do lots of business and lots of journal entries, this can be absolutely life-changing in terms of time savings. So we have two types of interfaces in Counterpoint. We have a direct interface and we have an export interface. So the direct interface allows us to send the information directly from Counterpoint into your accounting software. And there are certain softwares that are supported in Counterpoint already with pre-written direct accounting interfaces. Then we also have the Counterpoint export interface. In that case, when we do our exports, it's putting the general ledger distributions and vouchered payables into files that you then go into your accounting software and import. Now, The direct interface, like I said, that's written into Counterpoint. All the, underneath the hood things are there that makes that work. The Counterpoint export interfaces use Microsoft DTS, which unfortunately is no longer supported in current versions of Microsoft SQL. So as we upgrade customers, or as you're using a newer version of Counterpoint in SQL, DTS isn't working, and so the built-in export interface in Counterpoint does not work. Because of that, we do have a custom export interface that has been written that works around that DTS issue, and so we still have the ability to do the export interface with the addition of this custom export. One of the other benefits other than the need to work around the DTS issue is that exports can be custom configured to send data other than is in the standard interfaces right now. So maybe you need to send one more piece of data that would not be in the standard. We can do that when we're doing the custom interface. We also have the ability then to write exports for accounting packages that are not currently supported in Counterpoint with a pre-written export interface. So, I'll show you in a minute, but there are 10 or so pre-written accounting packages, but maybe you have an accounting software that is not one of those. Well, then we can create this export interface for your accounting software. And then also we have an interface for QuickBooks Online, which is not something that Counterpoint has dealt with yet. So if you use QuickBooks Online, we do have the capability to get both distributions and vouchered payables into QuickBooks Online. So as far as the direct interfaces go, our direct interfaces are listed here. We've got BusinessWorks, Great Plains, Dynamics, Mass 90, QuickBooks, et cetera, and it shows the versions that are supported with the direct interfaces. Some of these have not been updated for quite a while, as NCR has been working on what they have considered more pressing topics than keeping some of these interfaces updated to the newer versions of the accounting packages. But those looks like they're in the works for Q1, some of those being updated to more current versions. And then the export interfaces, again, these are the pre-written that are inside of Counterpoint. And again, we certainly have the ability to write interfaces to other packages than these. But these are some of the standards: QuickBooks, Solomon, Dynamics, some different ones there. So in order to use the accounting interface, we do need to make some configurations within Counterpoint. So first of all, to use the general ledger interface, we add your GL accounts to Counterpoint. So under Setup System Accounts, there's this screen up here at the top where we go in and we enter in all of your GL accounts, and we have the ability to support profit centers and different account segments if that's how your accounting software is configured. So then once we get your chart of accounts into the Counterpoint setup, there are several places within the Counterpoint configuration that we go in and we put in those general ledger accounts. So for example, when you're posting your sales, you get all your distributions to your general ledger accounts for your sales and your cost of goods and inventory and tax and tender. But it does take putting that through all of the setup in Counterpoint to get that to work properly. Then for the accounts payable interface or the vouchering interface, we need to have our vendors set up in Counterpoint as they are in your accounting software. And then we also, if you want to use the vendor terms and have all the terms calculated with your payables, then we want to configure all of our vendor terms codes so that they match what is in your accounting software as well. And we are happy to help with all of that. So when we set up the interface configuration, either direct or export, there is a screen in Counterpoint where we go in and we tell it which accounting system and which interface we're going to use. So based on the interface that we select, some different fields open up and ask for information. So in the direct interface, one of the things that's important is in order to use the direct interface, you have to be able to browse to your accounting software files from Counterpoint. So they need to be on the same network in a place that Counterpoint can sort of see and send information to your accounting system. We also enter in your accounting database login information as part of this direct interface setup. We have the ability to enter in account mapping rules. So if the way we have the accounts set up in Counterpoint, the chart of accounts set up in Counterpoint is slightly different for some reason than how it is in your accounting software, we have the ability to map one account in Counterpoint to a different account in your accounting software. Then when you want to actually send the distributions over to your accounting system, there is a screen where we go in and we tell it that we want to send those GL distributions or journal entries over to the accounting system. And then as far as vouchering goes, when we're entering our accounts payable vouchers, as soon as we complete one voucher, it is automatically going into your accounting system as a payable. So that's the direct interface. Then the export interface, again, depending on the software that we pick, we're going to have some different information that we need to enter. One of the differences there is that we're telling the system where we want to save those export files that are coming out of Counterpoint when we actually run the export interface. So it just goes into a file, and then we go into your accounting system and we import those files into your accounting system. And again, we can map accounts from one account in Counterpoint to a different account in your accounting system. And like I said, then the files are created and then we import those files into your accounting system. So I sort of talked about this a little bit already, but how does it work? So when we're actually ready to send those general ledger distributions or journal entries to the accounting software, we have this screen here that we fill in, and you can send the information over filtered down in a number of different ways. So, generally how people do it is you either do it day by day, and you want to send everything over every day. Some places send everything over, all the journal entries for an entire month at one time. They just send it over to the software at that point. So you have the option here in this screen to designate what date range you want to send. Maybe you want to filter it down to just activity from point of sale or from inventory transactions. If you want to filter that down by activity type, you can. And then when we tell it to interface, there's this button down here that says interface. When we select that, all of that information will go straight into your general ledger in the accounting software, and depending on the different softwares, goes in either as a posted or an unposted journal entry. And then same screen if we're doing the export interface, do all the same selections. When you do that export, it puts it into a file in the designated location, and then you go into your accounting software and do the import. For vouchering, we have a vouchering screen here, and the way this works is you select the receiver or multiple receivers that you actually want to do the voucher against, and then you enter in all of the invoice information. So we can put in the invoice number and the invoice date and the terms, and maybe we need to add shipping or some kind of miscellaneous charges to it. The goal being that when we voucher our payable, this screen that we have entered all this information into in Counterpoint, the bottom line of this receiver voucher is that it matches the bottom line of the invoice. So once we fill in all of this information and we tell it to voucher, if we have the direct interface, it's going to send it directly into the accounting software as a payable. And if we have the export interface, it will send it into a file, and then you take that file and it will continue to add to that file multiple vouchers until you're ready to put that into your accounting software and import it there. So in addition to that, to doing those actual interfaces, you also can import your vendors from your accounting software into Counterpoint, or you can export your vendors from Counterpoint into your accounting software in the beginning to set up, to save setup time. Also, if you add a whole new group of vendors on one side or the other, then you can export from the one system into the other, again, to save that duplicate setup time and make sure you have them set up the same on both sides. We also have the ability to import the initial chart of accounts from your accounting software into Counterpoint. And again, if you add a whole new bunch of accounts in your accounting software, we can just import those into Counterpoint as well. Then we also have the ability to run reports on general ledger distributions, vouchered and unvouchered receivings, even if you're not using the accounting interface itself. So these distributions are being created all the time, whether or not you are vouchering, or whether or not you are, we have set up the accounting interface and you're actually using it. So if you don't have it set up now, if you went to run the general ledger distribution report, you would probably see that you're having a lot of things posted in there to the standard chart of accounts that's in Counterpoint. We also have the ability to do what's called manual vouchering, and we use this both with the accounting interface and sometimes even without the accounting interface. So you have the ability to run reports to see how many of your inventory receivings you have actually been invoiced for to this point. So sometimes those figures are used at month end. And if you're doing manual vouchers in Counterpoint without the accounting interface, then you have the ability to do that kind of reporting. So if this is of interest, contact your account manager to talk about using the accounting interface or getting it set up. They can talk to you about whether the export or the direct interface is best. If we have a supported interface, how to get that set up, or getting somebody scheduled to help you set that up. Get consulting on a non-standard interface. So if you have an accounting software that is not supported, then like I said earlier, we can certainly write an interface that will work for your software. We're also happy to help you with accounting training. So if you need some, retail accounting information and basic knowledge, we're certainly happy to help you with that and provide training. And then occasionally you may want to update or change your existing interface. And so those are, services we can help you with as well.
So am I correct in to understand, if you don't have one of those accounting packages that was on the list, there's still a possibility that we could work with it?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yes. We've written a lot of custom interfaces to non-standard
okay,
or non-supported accounting systems. Yes, many.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.